What's up everybody, it's Crash coming up with another video. In this video I want to talk about the best arena champions in the game. We're going to make a top 10 arena champions. I'm going to explain you why are the best. We're not going to rank them 1, 2, 3 and 4. We're just going to rank the number 1 and then the rest they'll be just randomly assigned. You cannot really give them exact ranks because again it depends by the situation, it depends by the team you're using with the team you're going against, so you cannot really rank them all in a following order. So the top one and most OP arena champion in this current meta, guys, that we have is the one and only Siphi, the Lost Bride, the champion that everybody out there wants. Extremely overpowered champion, not necessarily in a bad way. I just think she's an amazing champion. So we're gonna have a quick look at the skills. We have her A1, Curse of Longing, attacks one enemy, has an 80% chance of placing a sleep debuff for one turn if the target's turn meter is equal to or above 50%. This debuff cannot be resisted. Heals all ally by 5% of their max HP if the target's turn meter is below 50. So her heal is nothing crazy from here. What's the most important thing is that you need 0 accuracy. And fully booked, she will have a 100% chance to place a sleep on the enemy target as long as their turn meter is 50% or above. This makes it super easy to get rid of an enemy champion. Put him to sleep, he won't be taking a turn. That's an extremely good skill right there. Her best skill, we have her A2 on 3 turn cooldown fully booked. Like, she buffs more than anyone else, I swear. Fills the turn meter of all allies by 15%. Places a block debuffs. A 60% increased defense. A 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. Like, this one right here is the best support skill in the game that anyone can have. Extremely good skill. Then we have her A3 on 4 turn cooldown. Revives a single ally with 55% HP and a full turn meter, places a 50% increased attack buff and a 30% increased crit rate buff on that ally for 2 turns. Again, an extremely good skill. Is only a single target revive though, but you do get it over 55% HP, so as long as she revives Rotos, because he's over 50% HP, his passive is gonna activate and he will be getting that turn when you hit him. So that makes it super good. Plus you have increased attack, you have increased crit rate. Increased crit rate, I don't really find that that helpful because you already build your champion with full crit rate. You're not gonna risk it to go in a battle with a 70% crit rate on a Rotos or something like that, because that can cost you tremendously. Then we have her passive. Heals each ally by 15% of their max HP at the start of their turn. Has a 40% chance of removing freeze and fear debuff from each ally at the start of their turn. Removes all debuffs from Rotos, the Lost Groom, at the start of their turn if they are on the same team. That makes it extremely good again. Now, removing every single debuff from Rotos, like provoke, stun, or anything whatsoever, can get you the victory. Like, she is honestly a huge carry. You just need her, throw in a few more champs there and you're in platinum. It's as easy as that. Give her a good amount of speed or build her on high resistance. Is up to you. Her aura is extremely good as well. Increases ally resistance in all battles by 80, sorry. So with her, by using her aura as well, you are able to do champions with 600, 700 resistance in the game. Is absolutely a monster. Super hard for you to counter that resistance if you don't have 700 plus resistance, 600 plus. It depends by the team you're fighting. They are indeed in the game people with 700 plus resistance on their champions while they're using the aura. Those teams, honestly, they slow you down a lot. Every defense in the game is beatable, so there's no team in the game you cannot beat. But the secret is to slow you down. By building a high resistance team, using her aura as well, throwing her in your team, you have super good defense team, honestly. Now, the second champion I want to talk about is no one else than her Groom, Rotos. Again, he's a bit broken even after all the fixes they made and stuff. He's still kind of acting broken. We have his A1, Terror Scourge. Attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Also has a 30% chance of granting an extra turn. Damage based, attack, HP. So honestly, what you wanna focus on him is attack and not HP, because his damage scales more of attack than HP. So if you want him to hit hard, you want him to kill the tanks, he needs a lot of attack. It does gain quite a few extra turns. If you have him on Relentless, he's pretty broken. Still, after the Relentless fix or whatever they've done, it's not like they made many changes to it. Like, you don't notice a lot of effect whatsoever. So we have his A2, Vitality Plunder on 2-turn cooldown, fully booked. Attacks one enemy, decreases the target's max HP by 20%, then adds that HP to this champion's own HP. Extremely good skill as well against adds in arena, in dungeons. Cannot decrease a single champion's max HP by more than 60% in one battle. Cannot increase this champion's max HP by more than 60,000. Does not decrease his boss's max HP. This champion's max HP will be increased by 15,000 when this skill is used against bosses. Pretty good skill. It hits extremely hard. So once we read his A3, I'm gonna explain you a couple of things. We have his A3 on 3-turn cooldown, Fated Destruction, the lowest cooldown for a sniper out there. Attacks one enemy, will ignore 75% of the target's defense, will also ignore unkillable and block damage buff, grants an extra turn if this attack kills an enemy, and the most OP part in the skill is enemies killed by this skill cannot be revived. Again, damage based on attack HP, scale their attack up, your damage will blow off the roof. So, as long as you have him built properly with a lot of attack, a lot of crit damage, you go in with this skill, kill one enemy, get an extra turn, you go in with his A2, again it hits so hard that you are able to kill the second tank with it. He's a weapon of mass destruction. Still broken, but we gotta adapt to the meta, everyone is using him, more or less. So if you do want to know how to build him, stack attack, crit damage, you can. The best set in my opinion for him is a Savage set, as long as you manage to get those right stats on him. If not, go Relentless, go Cruel sets, whatever gets you the right stats for it. We have his passive. Spurn Oblivion will decrease damage from a single enemy hit so that incoming damage will not exceed 50% of this champion's max HP from that hit. Can occur once per enemy attack, grants an extra turn if this damage reduction occurs, does not work against bosses, decreases the damage taken from bosses by 15%, decreases the damage taken from bosses by 30% if Siphi the Lost Bride is on the same team. Super effective against bosses as well, but his passive will not come in play. It will not activate to give you that turn probably. Right, now that we had a look at Rotos, the next one I want to talk about is the one and only Hegemon. Extremely overpowered champion again. A lot of RNG with him indeed. We have his A1, Graves Grasp, attacks 2 times at random. Each hit has a 35% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. His A2, Crippling Cold, which is the most OP skill he has. Attacks all enemies, places a 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. Also has a 50% chance of placing a block cooldown skills debuff for 2 turns. So that's why I said his RNG, his chance of placing that block cooldown skills is only a 50% chance, which is extremely high anyway. You guys probably notice when you go against the Hegemon and he's locking down literally every skill on all your champions. It's super good to be built on a stun set, on a sleep set, even a provoke set, if that's what offers you a lot of high accuracy and a lot of speed. If you build him for damage, keep in mind his skill will activate Rotos' passive, so then you're kind of getting screwed by that because the enemy team will get their turn. They can literally kill one of your tanks and cripple your team starting from there. pretty good stats on him. We have his passive, always goes first each round. If multiple Hegemons are in a battle, the Hegemon with the highest speed will move first, followed by the next highest, and so on. So you do want to stack a lot of speed on Hegemons as well, even though he goes first in the same round, because a lot of other people use his Hegemons, and roughly the average speed for Platinum on a Hegemon is around 240 to 280 speed. You can either build him for damage, but then again, how you're gonna have problem with the Rotos. Either build him as a crowd control and make him hit like a noodle so he doesn't activate his Rotos passive. We have his aura, increases ally crit rate in all battles by 19%. Pretty good aura. It's not something you will be using in arena. The next one I want to talk about is one of my favorite actually, and that's Duchess Lilitu. Amazing, amazing champion. Super great support. So we have her A1, Abyssal Invocation, attacks one enemy 2 times, then places a shield buff equal to 10% of this champion's max HP for 2 turns on this champion and the ally with the lowest HP, damage based on defense. Her skill is not gonna hit that hard, so I would rather stack more HP than defense. Then we have her A2, the best skill she has. On a 4-turn cooldown, fully booked, places a 50% increased attack buff on all allies and a block debuffs on all allies for 2 turns, places a perfect veil buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns again. That block debuffs is extremely important for arena, plus you have increased attack, you have the perfect veil, super great skill. We have her A3 on 4-turn cooldown. This skill literally only works if you have a dead ally. Revives all dead allies with 70% HP. Places a veil buff on all allies except this champion for 1 turn. Places a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. I don't see her as a healer whatsoever because she will only heal. She will only place this 15% continuous heal buff if she revives somebody. If no, you won't be able to use the skill. Her passive again is extremely good. Even after the rework, decreases the damage taken by all allies from AoE attacks by 25% and 15% from bosses, which makes her extremely good for dungeons and clan boss as well, but especially for arena. We have her aura, increases ally speed in all battles by 19%. A pretty good aura to use for arena if you're going with a slower team on a high resistance. Absolutely a beast of a champion right here. I love her. Now, the next one I want to talk about, every single person in the game eventually will be able to get her. And is Arbiter right here. Again, they did try to change the speed meta in the game. It didn't went out good for them, so we're all stuck with speed, guys. So Arbiter, make her as fast as you can possibly do. Just as a roughly idea, Platinum, top 20 upwards, maybe top 50, 350 plus speed, 340 plus speed. I know it sounds insane. It's pretty hard to get it indeed. You gotta get super lucky with the speed sets, with the glyphs you're using and stuff. So that being said, let's have a quick look at her A1. We have her A1, Gaze of Justice, attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of placing a 25% weakened debuff for 2 turns. We have a 50% chance fully booked. Not a necessary important skill for arena whatsoever. Then we have her A2, Enforce Humility. On 4-turn cooldown fully booked, we have a 100% chance of decreasing the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn. So keep in mind, if you are using this against a team that already has counter attack on them, this buff will make them counter because she's hitting the enemies while removing the buffs. Pretty good skill. You do need super high accuracy for her in order to do this on most of the teams in arena, so I would rather focus speed over accuracy at any means. We have her A3, one of the best skills again. On 3-turn cooldown, fully booked, fills the turn meter of all allies by 30% and places a 50% increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. Heals all allies by 25% of their max HP if they have less than 50% HP. Pretty good skill. You get a heal if your champions are low. You get an increased attack, which is extremely important for attack champions in arena. We get 30% increased turn meter. Absolutely a beast. And then we have her A3. A4, sorry, on 5-turn cooldown, fully booked. Destiny's Call revives all dead allies to 35% HP, then fills the turn meter of all allies by 20%, grants an extra turn to this champion if an ally was successfully revived. If you do have this on cooldown as well, after you use the revive, you can pop her A3 as well, get 50% turn meter increase, get 50% HP up, pretty good. Her aura is one of the best auras in the game. There are only 2 better speed auras in the game at the moment. So we have increases ally speed in the arena by 30%. Super good champions. Wish you good luck on your quests, on your missions to get her. She is amazing. Now, the number 6 that I want to talk about is Madame Serris. Extremely power champion. She's literally a legendary in disguise. We have her A1, attacks one enemy, has a 20% chance of placing a fear debuff for 1 turn. This chance increases to 30% if the target is under 1 debuff. This chance increases to 45% if the target is under 2 or more debuffs. Super good. Fear is extremely powerful. Sometimes it feels like it's 99% chance of actually activating the fear or true fear. Then we have her A2, Tricks and Treat. On 3-turn cooldown, fully booked, attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance of stealing 1 random buff from each target, places a block debuffs on all allies for 2 turns if any buffs is stolen, places a true fear debuff for 1 turn on enemies who have buff stolen. Super good skill. The only thing I wish with Madame Serris is that she would use her A3 no matter what first and then prioritize her A2. We have her A3, which is her best skill. Midnight Ritual removes all buffs from enemies, places a 50% decrease attack debuff and a 60% decrease defense debuff on all enemies for 3 turns. On 4-turn cooldown, you gotta build her with super high accuracy, and she's extremely good in arena to remove the buffs from any other champion that places buff, like Siphi, like Duchess, like Krisk, Warlord, Valkyrie. She's extremely good for it. Again, I would recommend you to build her on 500 plus accuracy at least for platinum. Then we have her passive. Places a shield buff on this champion equal to 10% of their max HP at the start of each turn. When attacked while under a shield buff, has a 35% chance of placing a fear debuff on the attacker for 1 turn. Either you can combo this nicely with a champion that already provides a shield for you on your team. Either you get a 2nd round and she's placing that shield for her. Now, whenever you go against Tormins, she will be a freeze because of this skill. The best thing I can recommend you to use on her, as long as you're not using a Siphi in the same team with her, and even including with a Siphi maybe, use an immunity set on her. Is absolutely amazing. Pretty good stats on her, good speed. Now, the next champion I want to talk about is with no doubt the best nuker in the game in the current meta at the moment, and is no other than Trunda Giltmallet. She hits so hard, like she's a beast. Extremely good. Her A1, Golden Mallet, attacks one enemy 2 times, has a 50% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn after the 2nd hit, a 60% chance fully booked, plus you getting 20% more damage. We have her A2 right here. On 4-turn cooldown, Cloak of Ages, attacks one enemy, then attacks all other enemies with a 2nd hit, dealing 60% of the damage inflicted from the 1st hit, 20% more damage fully booked. We have the best skill right here. Forge Rhythm on 5-turn cooldown fully booked, attacks all enemies, has a 70% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. Places a HP burn debuff for 2 turns on enemies under a stun debuff. Now, pay attention to what I'm gonna read next. Places an extra hit on enemies not under stun debuffs. 30% more damage fully booked. So, if you do wanna build her as a nuker for arena, give her 0 accuracy, stack attack, crit rate, crit damage. That's what's important. she's gonna destroy everyone. You can combo her super good with an Arbiter, a second Thermiter booster in case if you need it, a Madame Serris, a Setalia. She does work best with Madame Serris because we do have defense down with her, like that, so she's gonna obliterate the enemy team. No matter how tanky they are, she's gonna wipe them down. Then we have her passive, Swift Justice. This champion's resistance increases by 10 for each stun debuff this champion places on enemies. Stacks across each round in a battle up to 100. This champion's speed increases by 5 for each enemy currently under a HP burn debuff. Only counts active HP burn debuffs. Stacks up to 15. Pretty good passive, but for that you kind of need to place the debuffs, and you really do not want to land those debuffs in order for her to nuke the enemy team. We have her aura, increases magic ally attack in all battles by 36%. I don't like this sort of auras whatsoever. She has a pretty tanky HP, super good amount of attacks, good speed. The next one I want to talk about is Krisk the Ageless, Void champion from Lizardman. Extremely good champion, not only in arena. He's amazing everywhere, honestly. Clan boss, dungeons, whatever you need him, he's amazing. So we're gonna start with his A1. Enter the Morass, attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance fully booked to place a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. AoE, super good skill. We have his A2. On 3 turn cooldown fully booked, attacks all enemies, places a 50% ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns, places 2 15% continuous heal buffs on this champion for 1 turn, increases the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn. Extremely good skill. We do have ally protection, we have increases duration of all ally buffs. He does get some heal for himself. Attacks all enemies. This is the skill that hits the hardest from him, so he can hit pretty hard with this skill. Or you can see we're getting more damage from booking him up. 30% more damage there. Then we have his A3. On 3 turn cooldown, places a provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. 100% chance to land as long as you have enough high accuracy. Places a 60% increased defense debuff on this champion for 2 turns. Places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. Again, super great skill. Her passive again is amazing. His passive, sorry. At the start of each round, places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns equal to 50% of this champion's max HP. Has a 100% chance fully booked to place a 60% decreased defense debuff and a 50% decreased attack debuff on the attacker for 1 turn when hit. This champion requires 14 books. I highly recommend you, if you do have a Krisk, book him. You will not regret it. He's absolutely an amazing champion. Super good. You can either build him on a stun set for arena. Super good for that as well. The best thing, if you do decide to build him on high resistance to stall the enemy team while they're attacking you, I would put him on a shield set with high resistance, so you do get a thick shield at the start of the match. And if you do have that high resistance, they won't be able to remove the shield from you, and the battle will go on for on, and most probably win it as well if you do have a nice synergy in your team. I love Krisk, honestly, amazing. The next champion I want to talk about, I recently pulled him as well. I was on a hunt for him for months and months, and that's Warlord. Again, another Void champion from the Orcs faction. Super amazing champion. Again, great for arena, great for everywhere. He has a super good utility. So we're gonna start with his A1. Attacks one enemy, has a 40% chance fully booked of increasing the duration of all debuffs on the target by 1 turn. Pretty good skill, mainly for clan boss and stuff like that, to increase the debuffs. We have his A2. On 3 turn, cooldown fully booked. Places a shield buff equal to 30% of this champion's max HP on all allies for 2 turns. Restores all allies' HP by 25%. Places a block debuffs on all allies for 1 turn. Super great skill as well. You get a heal, you get a shield, and you get block debuffs from him on a 3 turn cooldown. Super amazing. And now the skill that makes him so good in arena is his A3. On 5-turn cooldown, fully booked, has a 100% chance to put each target skill on cooldown. Has a 60% chance, to fully deplete each target's turn meter, fully booked. So as long as you manage to get your Warlord to go first, and if you do, for him to prioritize his A3 instead of A2 in arena, and mainly everywhere, you do require to have at least 2 champions on immunity sets, or have a Siphi, which will go first and will use her block debuffs, and then he will prioritize his A3, put all the enemies' skills on cooldown, which will make him super good. They won't be able to use their A3s, they won't be able to boost their turn meter, they won't be able to do much, so that pretty much gives you the victory in the game. Extremely good skill. We have his aura, increases ally resistance in all battles by 50. Again, is a super good aura, not as good as Siphi's, but is a very good aura for resistance. I think is the 3rd best aura for resistance in the game, tied to arena. You can see he has pretty good stats, good HP, good speed. It does start with 20 accuracy, 30 resistance. Pretty good champion. And the next one I want to talk about is the one that literally broke the game like no one else did, and that's Tormin. Honestly, I haven't used my Tormin in arena probably in 2 months or around there. He kind of fall off a lot. A lot of people are still using him, and the reason I still threw him in top 10 here instead of Setalia is because a lot of people are not prepared with a Siphi, a Duchess, or immunity sets on their champion, so your team will still get frozen by his skills and stuff. But honestly, he's not as important as he used to be for arena. It's pretty easy to counter, even if you don't have Siphi or a Duchess. Throw immunity sets on your champions. Like, I'm not sure if you've seen the way I'm running my arena team. I do have my Arbiter the fastest, of course. I have Madame Serris, I have Trunda, and I have Lenakis the Chosen, all 3 of them on immunity sets. My Arbiter will probably freeze after she boosts. My Lenakis will get the turn in, ally attack. Madame Serris remove buffs from them, place defense down, attack down, Trunda coming in and wiping the whole team instant. So immunity sets are the solution for Tormin, and Hegemons as well. There are a lot of Hegemons out there, so immunity gear is pretty important. So let's start with his A1. We have a Rhyme Fire. Attacks all enemies, has a 15% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. It increases fully booked to 25%. With masteries, you can get it up to 30% chance to place a freeze. Instantly activates this skill whenever an enemy under both a freeze and HP burn debuff takes damage from the HP burn debuff. So easily to combo with a Tyrant, with a Trunda as well, but I still won't recommend you to use Trunda for debuffs. The best champion you can combo him with is Ignatius. He places 100% chance to place a HP burn, and he cannot be resisted, so you don't even need the accuracy for him. That would be a nice combo. I used to have a lot of fun back in the day when Tormin came out with him and Ignatius. They were actually super fun, even though they kind of broke the game with Tormin for a month or 2 after the fusion. Then we have his A2 on 3-turn cooldown, fully booked. We just get 20% more damage there. Removes all buffs from a target enemy, then attacks the target 2 times. Steals all buffs instead if the target is under a freeze debuff. Will ignore defense if the target is under a both freeze and HP burn debuff. This skill again, if you do have full crit rate on him and he is under a freeze and a HP burn, is gonna hit pretty hard with that ignore defense. It has pretty decent multipliers on it. Then we have his A3 on 4-turn cooldown. Attacks all enemies, places a block buff, debuffs, and 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns on enemies under a freeze debuff. Has a 60% chance, 80% chance fully booked, of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn on enemies not under a freeze debuff. Decreases the cooldown of one random skill of each ally by 1 turn for every enemy attacked under both a freeze and a HP burn debuff. His damage is based off defense, of course. Pretty good skill. We do have 80% chance of placing a provoke. It's not 100% chance as like Krisk has it, for example, but still is a very, very good skill. Then we have his passive. Wintry Wind has a 15% chance, again 25% chance fully booked, 30% chance with masteries on a 6-turn cooldown to place a freeze debuff on the enemy each time they receive a buff or have their turn meter filled. The 15% chance applies for each effect individually in cases where an enemy receives multiple of these effects at the same time. So what does that mean is that if two of your champions are starting to boost their turn meter or place buffs, this skill is going to activate for every single buff received by your allies. So you have, for example, 4 times the chance of 25% or 30 with masteries to get freezed. Does not work with effects from artifact sets, turn meter fillings effects from masteries, healing, or those buffs or effects that they take place at the start of a round. For whoever remembers this, when Tormin came out, this thing was not in the description, so if you had a stun set on your team, if your team was starting with a buff directly like a Krutraxa with a revive on that and stuff like this, your champions were literally freezing. That's what made him so broken at the beginning. Now, that's an active effect, passive effect, sorry, so that's always on, is not on a cooldown. The active effect, which is on a 6-turn cooldown, is revives this champion to 100% HP when killed and places a freeze debuff on this champion for 1 turn. So, how I said, Tormin is not what it used to be, just for the simple fact that there are many, many counters against him. That was all for a top 10 arena champions in this current meta, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you guys think they will implement to change the meta at the moment, to take down Siphi and Rotos from the high top there. What can they do to change it? How long you think we're still gonna run the same current meta? Probably speed is still gonna run whenever they're gonna decide to change the current meta as well. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications to see when we upload next. Press those thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you all soon on another video. Peace out.